2 years ago, Eric July launched Rippaverse Comics, and I didn't know if I was going to like it or dislike it. I've been following him for a while due to his social and political commentary. I think he's a pretty smart dude, and he announced his character, Isom. I like the design of the character. It legitimately felt like characters of old. Now, I'm not saying that everything he's doing, he's just trying to do throwbacks, but the energy going into the character felt like I was going to get a comic book that was just a comic book with a good story. No additives, no preservatives, just a comic book with a good story. And in my humble opinion, that is exactly what I got. Now, there are people who disagree, and I get it. You don't like it. I understand. Inevitably, it's interesting. And look, I don't have a problem. I want to thank everyone who watches my content, even if you don't like the topics that I discuss. But ultimately, if I discuss anything Rippaverse, especially Isom, man, oh man, it seems to really generate hatred in some people. I'm glad you watch. I'm glad you listen. I have no problem with your comments whatsoever. I have no problem with people saying, hey, you messed up here. I don't like this. I think this is trash. I think this is what has always happened in the geek space, right? We always talked about characters we liked and disliked. I know people who love Superman. One of the guys I work with, he loves Superman. I'm not a Superman fan. I've thought it was a boring comic book from the time I was a kid, even until now. I just think Superman is boring. But people love Superman. There are people that love Superman comics, and I don't have an issue with that. I don't mind people disliking things that I like, but it seems like sometimes people are incensed at the fact that I like Isom. What did I expect going into the first book? I expected a decent book that was probably going to have some flaws. Eric July had never written a comic book to this point, to my knowledge. And so this is his first go. Yo, for a first go, look, this man needs to get credit for the story that he wrote on his first go round. If nobody else will give him credit, I will. It was good. It is good. It's not perfect, but it is really good. Engaging enough that I read the book and I said to myself, I want to know what happens next. I recommended the book to a friend of mine. He read it. He liked it so much that he let some of his friends read it and they liked it. Look, what you like and dislike as far as art and stories can be slightly subjective. I may enjoy a part of the story or writing style that you absolutely hate. There's nothing wrong with that. Needless to say, I think it was good. I'm excited for Isom number 3, and I'm excited about some of the things I saw in this clip. So let's get to it and see what's going on with Isom number 3. Let me make sure my audio is set up right. All right, let's go.
The word empire is used very loosely.
I like Darren Fontano's character.
And power. What exactly is it?
I didn't pay as much attention. Oh, let me pause. I didn't pay as much attention to Fontano's character as I believe I should have. And I was telling somebody the other day, I need to go back and reread all of the Rippaverse books because there's a bunch of things I miss. I typically don't reread comic books. I've always been that way. It's just a thing. But these books I really do need to reread because people are bringing up stuff that I have forgotten. I did read Isom number 1 a second time before I did my full review. I'm pretty sure I did a full review on my channel of Isom number 1. I need to do Isom number 2, but I need to go back and now start picking apart details because as the Rippaverse expands, now when I read books, I'm taking certain details and I'm saying to myself, yo, I think this matters. I think this is leading to something else. And they've been doing that a lot and I like it.
Become an empire. An empire is a state of existence. That's because it isn't about mere wealth and power. It's about control and respect. It never.
This is the part of Darren Fontano's character that I believe Avery is going to exploit. Because Fontano wants control and respect, I can see from what I've read so far that can make him slightly sloppy because he has such a desire for that control and respect.
Stops being built. But you know when it begins to crumble. My history with him gives us a bit of an advantage, doesn't it? I'm sending a memo with all the details of this man and what I expect from you all. You'll immediately realize certain things ain't off limits.
Yo, if he goes after Avery's sister and his niece, this dude is going to pay. Oh man, I think this is heating up to be something special. Here for it. I'm here for it. Cliff Richards does some good work, contrary to what I see people saying online sometimes. I know I'll bring this up. When the first Isom released, people made such a big deal of the 3D assets. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. The story was good enough and the art was good enough that for me, the 3D assets, 3D models, whatever you call them, did not detract from the story for me. And I think rightfully so, this is why I believe, or one of the reasons, maybe he was already looking for it, I believe this is one of the reasons Eric July brought on Kanan White as art director. Eric July is not an artist, right? Now, did I notice when I was reading it, when the 3D assets were there, that something was different? Yeah, I kind of noticed, there's something different about this, but I wasn't like distracted or taken away from the story. I was like, all right, move on. Story's good. I'm engaged. I like what I'm seeing. I want to know more. I think Eric July realizing, look, you're not going to know everything. Kanan White is a masterful artist that I believe is actually, just as Eric July says, I don't think this is cap, no pun intended, or maybe all pun intended. The artists at the Rippaverse are being elevated by Kanan White's direction. As a veteran in the comic industry and as a one great artist, he is really helping people to add that sauce. Like, I don't know exactly what critiques and what things he recommended to Deborah Carita, but the art on Yaira #1, whew, bro, that art was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I think with every book, you can definitely see the fingerprint of Kanan White on the quality of art that's being put out. Of course, that is my humble opinion.
I mean, this is our flagship hero. It's a personal character. You know who he's named after. Again, it being the first character that really had this responsibility for putting over these other characters as well that you guys have come to love. There's been a massive demand for Isom, and Isom #3 is really, really special. If you read Isom 1 and 2, there's a lot going on.
Yo,
a lot.
And when you think about this, all of the moving parts in Isom, think about Isom is the quintessential Rippaverse character. I love this character. People don't like him. Again, I get it. And the reason I keep saying that is inevitably when I say these things, somebody is just waiting to pounce in the comments. Oh, I can't believe you like this trash. Bro, I like something you don't like. Appreciate your comment. Let's just agree to disagree. You probably like things I don't like. But again, I don't mind the comments. But anyway, I said all that to say, there is so many characters introduced from Isom Gooding. Darren Fontano, of course. Michael Copper, Lillian Renashi, Alpha Core, Blood Ruth, Yaira. These characters are all introduced in Isom and now being flushed out in a greater universe. And realistically, when I read Isom #1, I felt like I was reading the beginning of an epic. I am not just blowing smoke. no cap, I really felt like I was reading the beginning of an epic because all of the things that were being introduced, I immediately understood what Eric July was doing. I mean, I already knew this was a greater comic book universe, but I was like, oh, Homeboy is really going all in. He is not playing around. And I'm telling you, I'm here for it. I like it.
That's hanging above Avery's head. He has this Darren Fontano situation to worry about. He helped rescue Sam, who has his own things going on.
I am really interested to see what's going on with Sam. And if you read Isom Number 2, you would understand why I say that. I am so super intrigued by the little intricate nuggets that are dropped and then left alone. And you can tell they're left alone on purpose because they're going to pay off later on. And you kind of forget about it. And I think what he's going to do is when these things pay off, you're going to be like, oh, I remember in book so-and-so when such and such happened. This is part of the excitement of comic books. Man, I love this stuff.
With Bloodruth, and it's just so many different avenues and paths. And now we get to bring everything together in this final issue of this arc.
Man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
This ill-advised arc with Isom.
Yo, and look, that's another thing. The fact that he did like that ill-advised arc, that was such a callback to comic books of old. Not that he was necessarily trying to do a throwback, but it felt like he understood what made us all love comic books. Like, seriously, when I see some of these Rippaverse covers, I'm like, yo, man, they get it. They get it. They understand why we fell in love with comic books, man. Yo, believe what you want, say what you want. Every now and again, something comes in a generation that it really is game-changing. And I could be completely wrong about this, right? And I'm willing to admit if I'm wrong, but I really believe the Rippaverse is something special, and not only for the Rippaverse, but for other independent creators. Because I think what's going to happen, because look, the way they launch and the things that Eric July did, this is unorthodox, right? Launching these big 98-page, 95-page, 97-page books. Yo, I've never seen a comic book company start with that. Of course, comic book companies do that, but he started with, like, this is their signature thing. Long books that give you a lot of content all at once. Yo, it's actually pretty satisfying. And I think other independent comic creators are going to start just exploring and doing their own things while embodying and keeping those elements that make comic books fun.
And I just cannot wait for people to read it. You know, Darren Fontano is an interesting case, right? He's not just some crime lord in this big city. You know, he has a connection to Avery.
They grew up together.
Past. So that gives him an advantage like no other. And because he's having to deal with the dynamic of maintaining that status that he has, and
pride, that's what you get. Darren Fontano, every time I read the books, I'm like, this dude is filled with pride. And like I said, that constant desire for control and respect makes him slightly sloppy and definitely adds to the interest in what's going on in the book, right? Like, it adds another layer of interest. Like, okay, he's going to mess something up somewhere, or he's going to do something so diabolical just because he wants that respect.
Some sort of threatened it, he's got to deal with that, and he recognizes that.
Classic bully. He's the big dog, alpha dog,
that.
so he's got to do something about it.
There's a lot that both don't know about the other, which is it's going to make for some really interesting stories that we're going to be telling in this massive book in Isom Number 3. Cliff Richards being the first artist that people got to see as far as his interior.
And look, I will say this, Cliff Richards, in my opinion, this is all my opinion. You can disagree in the comments. I get it. I understand. I think Cliff Richards' art is quality art, and it set the standard for what would come next. and it has only gotten better. There, modern comic book companies, you'll see some artists are great, some artists are mediocre, some artists are decent, and then some artists are like, yeah, I don't care about that. What I've seen at the Rippaverse, again, my humble opinion, you're welcome to disagree in the comments. All of the artists that I've seen have been quality. Quality. I have not seen one book from the Rippaverse that I looked at and I said to myself, yo, this art is just subpar. I have not thought that one time, and I think starting with Cliff Richards was a very smart move because this set the standard for everything that was going to come next. And I definitely see improvements in Isom number 2. And with the direction of Kane and White, I cannot wait to see what we get in Isom number 3. I'm super excited for this book.
Work. You know, he's taking it up to another level, and that was something that he really wanted to do. You know, we had the help of our art director and Kanan White.
Again, just like I said,
the fact and really wanted to elevate. That was his goal, to really elevate every artist that we have here. And some of you guys got to see some of his newer work in that remaster, which is in.
I might have to buy this remaster.
And
they keep talking about it. I've been avoiding it. I might have to buy it.
He's enhanced some different things, and he's taken all of what he's learned along the way, obviously, and now he really, really does understand this character in Isom with Isom number 3. So to me, and yeah, you may can say this is easy for me to say, but I actually believe this. This is some of Cliff's best work.
I believe him. When he says
so
that,
good,
I absolutely believe him.
And of course, we have our new colorist and Sebastian Chang, and he even elevates it even more. So the both of those guys as a tandem really make for some fun storytelling here with Isom number 3. And because we have a lot of the story to wrap up to close out this particular arc,
and there's so many moving pieces. I mean, big. The way he said that, I'm like, sheesh, how big is this book gonna be? The Isom number 1, I think, what was it, 98 pages, 96 pages or something like that. I can't remember the exact page counts. Yo, if this thing goes into the 110, 15, 20, 30 plus page book, yes, do it. Do it. I am here for it. I want to see it.
Was bigger than Isom 1. Isom 3 is bigger than Isom number 2. There's just so much of the story that we really needed to tell to finish out this arc, and we wanted to take our time. That's the awesome thing about the format that we had released.
Yo, and this is a testament to taking a gamble on making longer books. I think making longer books gives you so much more satisfaction in the story that you're willing to wait longer to see what happens next, because you get so much in that book. This is one of the reasons why I say I really need to go back and read my Rippaverse books. I think I'm going to start with Gooding the Polymath. Yo, truth be told, Gooding the Polymath is a sleeper hit, one of my favorite books in the Rippaverse, and I really hope they allow Mike Barron to really take that story farther. I hope they continue with that series.
With this, and that we could tell whatever story we wanted, and we weren't being rushed. None of the creators were being rushed. And while I do know, and I'm very aware of that demand where so many people like, look, man, where is the next Isom? I'm waiting for it. Trust me, it's going to be well worth the wait. You're going to get a great story. Of course, I feel really good about it. I feel like this is some of my best work, and also Cliff's best work as well. And it is a satisfying conclusion.
That cover looks absolutely sick.
But it's also, I think, going to leave you with some questions as well, and you're going to be stoked about Isom going into the future, or at minimum, you're going to be curious about it. So Isom 3 coming out finally in 2025. Myself, Cliff Richards, Sebastian Chang. Man, I know you guys are going to love this story just as much as I love creating them for you all, and that support that you guys gave it and have given Isom, this brand new fresh character. He's only 2 years in, and you supported him the way that you have. It means
it's a good character, man.
A lot to all of us.
It's a good character.
That's why we wanted to write the absolute best story that we could with Isom number 3.
All right. I'm here for it, man. I can't wait to see what goes into Isom number 3. I am excited. I don't know if anybody out there is as excited as I am. This again was the start of the Rippaverse. I enjoyed the book, introduced me to other characters that I now know and love and enjoy. Look, they are doing their thing. Foot is on the gas. Keep it going.